Welcome into this Tuesday edition of Hittin Hard with Jon Chuckery. Today on the show, Mykal Walker has definitely stepped his game up. I'm more worried about red zone targets for Kyle Pitts and bad times on the flats for Georgia Tech. All next, Hittin Hard with Jon Chuckery, Locked on Sports Atlanta.
This is Hittin Hard with Jon Chuckery, part of Locked on Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
Welcome into Hittin Hard with Jon Chuckery here on Locked on Sports Atlanta. Head to youtube.com, put Locked on Sports Atlanta in your search browser. Hit the subscribe button, leave us a comment. We are free and available, all your favorite podcast platforms, including Spotify and Odyssey. Download us for free there today. Leave us a 5-star review. Amazon Fire and Roku, we can also be found on those platforms as well. And, of course, follow me at JMCH316. One of the guys that I was really excited about as we came into this season for the Atlanta Falcons was Mykal Walker. Now, he's been obviously used very sparingly in his early time here with the Atlanta Falcons. 16.5% of the snaps is all that he played on defense last year. But going in the offseason and coming into training camp and really through the spring and summertime, Dean Pease talked about how much he thought he'd grown, how much he thought he could play a bigger role in this defense. And we knew that Mykal Walker, if nothing else, was a really good coverage linebacker. If you look at his Pro Football Focus grades, he's been one of the better coverage linebackers. It's just that he doesn't get a whole lot of snaps on the field. And again, 16.5% of the snaps last season on defense is all that he's played. Coming to this season, they got the green sticker on him, right? He's the guy that communicates with Dean Pease. He's been really a much improved player for this team. He's played all but one snap this season so far. So 100% and 98% have been the snaps that he's played in the first two games. All but one snap is what he's played. So obviously they have an immense amount of confidence and trust in what he can do. And when he's been on the field, he's produced. He's obviously already got an interception this year. He had one last week in the game. He's already got a sack. He's made some tackles. Now, if there's one thing you'd like to see Mykal Walker do a little bit more of, and that is just be a tackler in general, because that's what you want out of a middle linebacker, right? You know, Rashaan Evans is a guy who can be a high volume tackler. Deion Jones was a guy who can be a high volume tackler. But outside of that, Mykal Walker's been another guy who's starting to come into his own and been a breath of fresh air for this defense. And we talk about guys that need to be part of the solution. And we talk about guys, too, that, to be honest with you, when you're looking for young guys that can step up and outplay their contract and give you a guy that really performs well at not a high price and things like that, this is where Walker comes in. Now, right now, he sits with the highest Pro Football Focus grade. Take that for what you will, but he has the highest Pro Football Focus grade of any defensive player, any defensive starter for the Atlanta Falcons. 77.5 is his grade. That's a really strong grade for a guy. First couple of weeks in, obviously still getting adjusted to playing all the time in the NFL. So Mykal Walker's been a nice breath of fresh air in this defense, and he's a guy that I very much root for. I'm very excited about. I had a chance to interview him when he got drafted by the Atlanta Falcons a few years ago. He's helping this defense take that next step up. Now, we'll talk more about this in just a second. But first, we're talking about my friends over at BetOnline.net. Look, you had 2 Monday night games on last night, right? And we're going to get more of that coming up. And you got NFL season, college. Everything has jumped right in, right? And baseball season is coming down to the end, but playoff baseball's right around the corner. You want to be smarter about how to wager. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all of your sports wagering information. E-betting, scores, all the information you need, all your podcast information, stats, everything is available really handy and easy on your mobile device, right? So take your mobile device, you head over to betonline.net today to get all of the best information you can to make you better, smarter when it comes to sports wagering information. And obviously, look, Everything you want to bet on: football, golf, boxing, MMA, baseball. Everything is right there at your fingertips at betonline.net. So take that mobile device, head to betonline.net today. It's where the action starts. So you look at what Mykal Walker has done in this defense that as it's converted over to a 3-4 defense here these couple of years under Dean Pease, you hope the guy like that could be more than just a situational linebacker where he was mostly used as just a coverage kind of guy, right? And he did play a lot of special teams last year. I think 77% of the snaps that he took were on special teams last year. But now he's getting his chance to start and shine. And Dean Pease talked a lot about him in the offseason, talking about how much more of a bigger role he can take, how much more leadership he can take on this defense. And we're seeing that manifest itself over these first couple of weeks. And these are the reasons why Rashaan Evans is a guy that Dean Pease said, I don't know how Tennessee didn't give him a fifth-year option. Mykal Walker's been given the green sticker to be the guy that gets the calls in his helmet. All of these are reasons why that I've told you before that Deion Jones is not going to play for the Atlanta Falcons. They feel like that they have the guys, and then now you mix in Troy Anderson, who obviously had a chance to play this past weekend and made a big play, right? You're getting some big plays out of these guys in your linebacker core. Well, he came in and blocked a punt and got a chance to play a little bit on defense. All of these are reasons why I've said before that I don't believe that Deion Jones is going to play for the Atlanta Falcons. I'm not saying that you can't use talented people on your defense, but for what the Falcons want to do, I think they feel like that they have found the guys to fit the role and do the things that they want to do. And Mykal Walker is one of those guys. And look, I would love to be able to see Mykal Walker continue to go. We know he can be really effective in pass coverage. Now just, get in the mix of more tackles and things like that. But he's obviously made a big step already in the first couple of games here for the Atlanta Falcons. He's obviously already made an impact on the field. He's had a sack, an interception, right? He's doing some things to make plays. As the wrestling announcer Jim Ross always says, maximize your minutes. That's what Mykal Walker has done and meant for this defense this year. And obviously, as we're going through a season that's going to be difficult for winning games and things like that, one of the ways we talked about yesterday is if this defense is going to help out and help keep us in games, sack the quarterback, create turnovers. Well, Mykal Walker's been front and center for helping do that with a sack, with an interception. So if you have a guy that can get around the field, make plays for you in a defense like this, where you need your linebackers to do a lot of different roles, right? Sometimes your linebackers have to come up in this scheme and go up and take on a blocker and make a tackle. Sometimes they have to drop back in coverage. A lot of different roles than in a 3-4 system, and especially under Dean Pease. Remember, he talked about, we've only got 25, 30, 35% of the playbook open and things like that. It's a much more complicated defense than probably what was played under Dan Quinn. And when you have guys like Mykal Walker who can step up and get your young guys, this is what we're looking for. More than just wins and losses, and we've talked a little bit about that yesterday, but you're trying to see growth from players. The fact that, number one, Mykal Walker has played all but one snap, that tells you a lot about how confident this coaching staff believes in Mykal Walker. And the fact that he's maximized his minutes when he's been out there with the sack, with the interception. Has he got some things to work on? Yes. But has he been a bright spot and a breath of fresh air in this defense? Absolutely. I'm very much going to watch what Mykal Walker does the rest of the season. I love the kid. I'm excited about him, and hopefully he's a long-term solution here to help the Falcons out. All right, when we come back, I'm more concerned about the red zone than I am about the totality of targets. We'll talk about that next. Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery, Locked on Sports Atlanta.